The story this morning, as you can see from your order of service, is the story of Zaccheus. And this is a quite familiar story, I think, and last month we had some fun with this in the first meet in the middle, playing with it in the large assembly. And so I'm going to need some help this morning telling this story. And to begin with, we have these kind of two groups of people. This story takes place in Jericho. So we need some Jerichovians. So are there like 4 or 5 people who might just, you don't have to do anything, I'll tell you exactly what to do, let's put it that way. So 4 or 5 people who might be willing to be Jerichovians. Good, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, good. Oh, come, everyone, if you stand, you must come up. Come on up, yes. And you guys, that's great. You guys just kind of form a clump right over here. You're right over here on this side. Yes. Now, I have to confess we have a couple of ringers who were in the 9 o'clock service, so they've had a little bit of practice. So if you see some really stellar performances, it's probably because they did it once this morning already. So here's the deal. The people of Jericho were probably a little bit poor. They didn't have too much power. So, they're probably a little downtrodden. And, they weren't too happy with being downtrodden. And so they complained a lot. They grumbled a lot. So maybe if you could kind of grumble a little bit. Yeah, grumble, yeah. That's very good. Very good, don't you think? All right, now we need some Romans. Now, the Romans aren't exactly the good guys in this story, but again, we're only acting. And I only need a couple of Romans because, there were not all that many. Do I have a couple of Romans, people who are willing to come up? And here's one, yes? Yes, exactly, I will tell you exactly. Oh, and we've got some young Romans. Oh, good. Yeah, come on up. And you guys stand right over here. Now, the Romans were actually the people who were in power. So they were probably a little bit, kind of pumped up and really proud of themselves, and they thought that they were the best thing. So you might just kind of do some made-up language amongst yourself, how important you are, and you're grumbling over on this side. So, okay, that's good. All right. So this next role I actually typecast. I'm going to ask Rachel to be Zaccheus, and it's not because of her stature, but because she was once a tax collector. No, that's not true. Okay, so maybe it was because of your stature. All right, so because Zaccheus was a little guy. That's just what it says in the story. Oh, do you want to come up and be a Roman? Yeah, you come up and stand up here. I guess you can never have too many Romans, it turns out. So here's the deal with Zaccheus. Okay, enough murmuring up there for the moment. Once you get them on stage, they think they're the stars. So here's the deal with Zaccheus. Zaccheus was a Jerichovian, but he was a tax collector. So that meant that he was taking money from the townspeople and giving it to the Romans, which didn't make him the most popular person among his town people. So they took the money, he took the money, and then he gave it to the Romans. And the Romans were very happy about it. So Zaccheus, it was like his whole life was back and forth between the Jerichovians and the Romans, taking the money from that group and giving it to them. All right, so that's kind of the setup for the story. And then a kind of amazing thing happened. Jesus came to town. So I need Jesus. Actually, would you be Jesus? Yes, I'm pointing at you. Yes. Oh, come on up. You be Jesus. So if you could just go down the aisle a little bit so you can make a grand entrance. Okay, that's good. All right, so one day, Jesus came to town. Now, Romans, you're just going to stay where you are. So Jesus came to town, so come on down. And the townspeople were really excited. They all ran forward, and they all came up here because they were so excited about seeing Jesus, and they made a lot of noise, and they weren't grumbling. They were just very excited to see Jesus. Yeah, except here's the deal. Poor Zaccheus was so short that he couldn't even see Jesus, and he really wanted to see Jesus. So here's what happened. It turned out that nearby there was a grove of trees, and this is where we can't hire the trees. We don't have enough money. So the Romans are going to, oh, look, here's some trees. Okay, great. So you guys come over here. You stand right there. Yeah. And stand real close together. You can be a clump of trees and give us some limbs. We need limbs, all right? And so Zaccheus climbed up in the tree. And Jesus did a really interesting thing. Jesus said to Zaccheus, Zaccheus, come down.
Zaccheus, come down.
And Zaccheus was shocked, like, why did he get singled out? And Zaccheus did come down. And then Jesus said another amazing thing. This is what Jesus said. I'm coming to your house for dinner.
I'm coming to your house for dinner.
A dinner invitation. What nerve. Jesus walks into town, picks out somebody, and invites himself to dinner. And the thing was that the Jerichovians were not all that pleased that he was the one that got invited, so they were grumbling again. Oh, no, that wasn't enough grumbling. You're really upset at this point. And, okay, that's good. So, it was interesting that here was this invitation to come to dinner. Zaccheus knew that he was kind of in the middle of things. And, you know, as often happens when Jesus is around, Zaccheus had a change of heart. And out of that turning, that kind of repenting, Zaccheus made a promise. What do you think you're willing to do, kind of out of what's happened?
Well, Jesus, I know that I'm very wealthy, and I will give half of what I own back to the poor. And if you catch me cheating, I will repay it 4 times over.
And that made Jesus really happy. And actually, even some of the Jerichovians were a little bit happy about that because they thought, oh, well, maybe this will be better for our taxes. So it was amazing that this thing had happened. And then Jesus, this is what Jesus said. Today is a salvation day.
Today is a salvation day.
All right.
And it was.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you all. You may sit.